Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode. Today we are here for the Australian Grand Prix, first race for our team as well as me and my teammate Mick Schumacher. And if you haven't checked out the previous video, make sure to check it out. We created our team, the name of our team, the livery, everything else in that episode. So go check that out before you watch this. And as for our teammate Mick Schumacher, he's 64 rated, so not bad. The other F2 teammates were around high 50s, I think. Now, as for where we stand R&D wise, we are just behind our AlphaTauri, but it's not that big of a gap, so it might not make a difference. Maybe we can finish ahead of the AlphaTauris in the points, get our first points in our first race. That would be pretty amazing. But now looking ahead, we also have weight reduction upgrade coming up just before the Bahrain Grand Prix. I had a few thousand R&D points left, so I spent them on a weight reduction upgrade because as all we know that the My Team car is really draggy, so we do need to reduce that weight if we want to have decent straight line speed. And now it's time for the car reveal. So the cover from the car has fallen, and now it's time for us to move on to the first race of the season where we'll see where every single driver stands. So now let's move on to the Grand Prix. Here we are for the first time in our brand new My Team F1 2022 car. So now obviously we have no idea where we are going to stand. So we're going to go out on the soft tires for our first ever qualifying run on this car. Let's get out there. Now we are out there starting our first ever flying qualifying lap in this car in Q1. So it'll be interesting where we stand in this car. I've never driven this car ever before. So it'll be interesting where we can stand and where we can get to, maybe even get to Q3, maybe I can get lucky, some people can crash, but we crossed the line to start our first ever flying lap in this car. Going into turn 1, we already went a little bit too wide. This Ferrari engine, the acceleration is amazing. You can see we came out so fast through the first chicane. Now Australia is a track I really like. It's pretty flowy. If the only thing wrong about this is if you make one mistake, the whole lap is gonna be bad. Like, it's so fast and quick. I really love this circuit, and I feel quick in this car. It doesn't feel slow. It feels really, really quick. So I'm pretty confident we can get a good Q1 and Q2 and maybe even get into Q3 if we can get lucky enough. But I'm taking the corners a bit cautiously because I really don't want to crash on my first qualifying session. I have no idea how this car handles, but till now it's handling pretty well. And personally, I really like cars with higher downforce level than having lower downforce and higher top speed. But we come to the end of lap 1 or the first lap of our Q1 session, and I'm feeling pretty good about this because I had a really fun time driving this car. I'm still getting used to how it handles, but I'm really liking it. So we're gonna cross the line right now, and it's fastest. Okay, what? How did we just go fastest? We're ahead of Verstappen, Ricardo, Hamilton. What is happening? Okay, that must be some glitch that the other AIs are going very slowly. So at the end of Q1, we eventually end up 3rd, and our teammate made it through. Mick Schumacher in 16th, that is. So yeah, both of us made it too. Somehow I managed to get P3, which is very surprising. But yeah, I think the AI's times are just glitched and they just did very bad laps or something. But Q2 is where our real challenge comes, because both the AlphaTauris have made it in both the racing points, and for some reason Lewis Hamilton is all the way down in 10th, and we lost 6 cars. All the Haas's, all the Alfa Romeos and all the Williams are gone, which is no surprise at all. Now moving on to Q2, we are going into Q2 filled with confidence that we can get a good position to start our race in near the AlphaTauri, or even maybe ahead of them, and maybe even get into Q3 if we can get a good enough lap time in. Obviously, like we went P1 or P3, in Q1. I don't think that's gonna happen. That was probably just a glitch time by the AI. Oh, that was a little wiggle from me there. But yeah, so I am pretty confident that we can get a pretty good position to start a race in, as we're gonna cross the line to start a Q2 lap. And as we go into turn 1, we're gonna take it very cautiously. I just don't wanna cry, oh, cut the corner a bit, but no warning there, so I guess that was legal. But till now this lap is looking pretty good. And now we're gonna brake. I braked a bit late and we're gonna go wide. Even with the dirty air of the car ahead, this is gonna be a little bit harder because we have dirty air from the car ahead of us, which is our brand new teammate Mick Schumacher, and he's gonna give us really good slipstream through the straights. But we're gonna have to pass him in this chicane and we're gonna go for the dive. We lose a bit of time there because we had to brake later. That meant we went deep. But now we are gonna give him a slipstream, but I'm pretty sure he's on an in or out lap, so it doesn't matter anyway. But already our teammate giving us some disturbances in qualifying already with the dirty air. And we had to pass him in qualifying with that meant we had to lose some time there. But hopefully it didn't hinder our lap that much, because we are gonna need this good lap in. If we cannot make another lap, I would probably come out for another lap after this, because this lap was a bit, we went wide in turn 3 and then our teammate blocked us. But yeah, we're gonna cross the line and it's gonna be P8, so not bad. We are ahead of Stroll and Gasly. So as we move on, we come back into the pits and we are already down to P11, I think. Yeah, we're down to P12, P13 now. So now it's time for us to go out. It's 5 minutes left in this session and another chance at us to go into Q3 or maybe get higher position on starting rate. But now here the truth will unfold itself, because you're gonna know where we're gonna end up after Q2. Either we are gonna make it into Q3 or we are just not gonna put a good enough lap in and we're gonna get knocked out. But the best we can hope for is getting into Q3 or get P11 or 12, because that's probably the best way to start in as we start our qualifying lap in Q2. And we have already lost a little bit of time, not that much. As we go to the final car, we gain a lot of time here, already into the greens. And going to turn 3, we gain a lot of time because we went wide during our first lap. We gain about 2 tenths and then lose half a tenth, and then gain it back in the next couple of corners, the accelerating zone. And we go purple first sector, so that's very surprising. As we go into the last sector, we are still gaining time, about 7 tenths, 8 tenths, 9 tenths, about a second gain now, but we lose that time as we went wide. So now we have 7 tenths gain, we're losing a bit of time going through that turn with DRS open. We're gonna cross the line, let's see where we are. 7 tenths gain, 8 tenths gain, and it's only good enough for P7. Ahead of Bottas somehow, he must have a horrendous lap put in. But now as everybody puts their lap in, we eventually get knocked out of Q2. We are down in P12, but we're still ahead of both the AlphaTauris, so that's a really good news for us. So our teammate is down in P16, so it's qualifying over for both of us, but I cannot complain. That's a pretty good position to start in, especially for our first ever race in Formula 1 as a team, and the two Mercedes locking out the front row, at least in Q2. So it will be interesting who goes where in Q3, and I'll see you in the race.
Months of rumour and speculation all come to an end today as we return to Melbourne for the opening race of what promises to be an enthralling season. Welcome along then to the Australian Grand Prix. The Melbourne circuit is certainly one that needs to be taken seriously. Its combination of slippery surfaces and difficult corners make it a tricky track when it comes to overtakes. Drivers find it hard to pass and will need to take full advantage of those DRS zones if they want to have any hope of breaking through. Can Mercedes start with victory in their bid to win a 7th consecutive Constructors' title? Could Ferrari or Red Bull establish an advantage early on? And with 22 cars on the grid, how quickly can the new team find their footing? Well, it's great to be back, Anthony Davidson. We've got a lot to talk about this year.
That's right, Crofty. It felt like a long winter, but it's good to finally be back. I have to think the usual suspects will battle it out at the front, but there are always going to be some teething problems early on in the season, so whoever can keep on top of their issues will have the advantage today.
As I mentioned earlier, we're up to 11 teams this season, with a new entry run by, well, of all things, an owner-driver. That's something we haven't seen in this sport since Hector Raback over 4 decades ago. So how are they looking so far?
It's hard to imagine how a small operation like that could survive in the ruthless world of Formula 1. And yet here they are, first ever race looking surprisingly strong. but there are no points for qualifying. Let's see how they fare in the Grand Prix proper.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Good job yesterday from Valtteri Bottas. The Finn starts from pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Vettel, Alexander Albon, and Sainz, Norris, Leclerc, Perez, and Esteban Ocon, Ricciardo, the owner-driver, Lance Stroll, and Gasly, Kvyat, Schumacher, Kevin Magnussen, and Roman Grosjean, Giovinazzi, Russell, Raikkonen, and Nicholas Latifi. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
Here we are on the 6th row of the grid. As for the strategy, it's pretty simple. Stop strategy, 7 laps on the softs and 8 laps on the medium tire. It's a simple 25% race, so shouldn't be any surprises or different strategies. Everybody will be on a one stop unless and until they get damaged. So yeah, as for the grid, Valtteri Bottas has taken pole position for the Australian Grand Prix. No surprise there, the Mercedes locking out the front row. But Valtteri Bottas has been a better qualifier than Hamilton in the F1 game, so there is no surprise there. And as of for our teammate P12 and P16, he's behind Daniel Kvyat and we are behind Daniel Ricciardo. Now it's time for the actual serious stuff. First race of the season and 5 red lights are out and we are underway, and it's a great start for us and a bit of a slow one for Ricciardo, and we catch him napping and we are already up into P11. P10, it's a great start for us. We go for a huge lunge down the inside of turn 1, cut the corner a bit, and we are already up into P6. And I'm pretty sure Hamilton is up into the lead, as we have a replay here of Hamilton's start. And as you can see, he gets a great getaway already side by side with Bottas in the initial phases of the start. And he's already ahead of Bottas going into turn 1, so he didn't really need to make it work. And Bottas had a horrible start. Now here's the onboard of Hamilton's start, and you can see he got traction really quickly, and he's already ahead in around 50 meters. And he goes ahead into turn 1, and Bottas struggling a bit on the tires. Albon also had a great getaway. He was already side by side with the Ferrari. He started P5 and is currently I think P3 or 4. So you can see already side by side with Verstappen, and they almost touch, and he's ahead of him coming out of the first chicane, and they're gonna go side by side through the second straight of the circuit, and they're gonna go side by side through turn 3. It's so close. They're fighting really hard for this P4 and they really don't want to make contact, and they're gonna go side by side to turn 4, and through turn 5 Albon's gonna come ahead of Verstappen. So too bad for Verstappen, couldn't defend against his teammate. I don't think that would have been the case in real life. Now we're not as quick as these McLarens and Ferraris, so Vettel is already pulling away a gap of almost more than a second now, and Sainz is catching up to us. He'll be looking to make a move on us as quickly as possible so he can go chase down the Ferrari of Vettel. And I think our main goal this race should be finishing in the points in the top 10 and get our first points. Now as we speak, Sainz catches up to us with DRS, and he'll be looking to get a move around the outside, but we have the inside line and we defend successfully, and we are still in P6. But remember, Sainz is in a much faster McLaren than compared to our car, so he will be catching up to us as we move on to the end of lap number 4.
Information on Hamilton, they're slowing down. It seems like there's some kind of problem with their car.
So now Hamilton has an issue with his car. He's still in the lead, but I don't think that will be for long. So sad for Hamilton. He was in the lead quite ahead of Bottas actually. I think that's more than a second now. But unfortunately for him, he has an issue with his car. Not a critical issue or a terminal issue, just a normal issue. So he'll be slowing down, and Bottas might be catching up to him now. Now speaking of terminal issues, Lance Stroll is retiring. So maybe showing signs that the Mercedes power unit isn't that durable already. The first race we have a mechanical issue with Hamilton, and now Stroll is retiring both Mercedes powered cars. That might not be good sign for the cars powered by Mercedes. So now moving on, you will notice that Sainz is actually ahead of me. When Stroll retired, I had the screen freeze and I just went off and he overtook me. There's nothing interesting in that. But now Lance Stroll's teammate Perez is right up my gearbox, and he'll be looking to make a move on me, and the Mercedes unit is actually pretty powerful. So as he comes with DRS, he's trying to go around the outside, but we brake late, and we have the inside line, we have the racing line, and we are gonna defend our position once again. But that happiness is gonna be short lived, as on the very next lap He's gonna come with DRS on the main straight and he's gonna catch up to us. He's gonna try around the inside, but we have more downforce than him. We are gonna outbrake him, and around the outside we defend our position. So we are defending pretty well, I would say. I think we are using a higher downforce than some of the guys around us. But as we move on, we see Hamilton's fault is finally coming into play, and Bottas is trying to go around the outside on the final sector. He's gonna try, and he's still side by side, and they're gonna go to that fast corner, and Bottas has finally got the move done on his teammate Hamilton and has taken the lead of the Australian Grand Prix. This is really bad for Hamilton if he wants to win his 7th world title. Now as we move on to our POV, I think Ocon is coming in, so maybe he's looking to get an undercut on Perez and Norris, and as well as me maybe, because the undercut can be really powerful as our tires are really worn off. And on lap number 7 we're gonna come in. As my tires are really worn off, you can see me sliding coming into the pit lane. And I'm pretty sure everybody else who didn't pit on the last lap is coming in. Perez, Norris and Ricardo too, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Now the interesting thing is, where will Ocon tear out? As we see, he's coming to the last sector and he's pretty close. I think he did get an undercut on at least Norris. And now we get a pretty decent pit stop of 2.6 seconds. No drama there. Now we see Ocon coming to the final few corners into the last turn, and he'll put his foot down to get through and get an undercut on at least one car. Norris, I'm pretty sure he gets the undercut on Norris, but will he be able to get us or Perez? And yes, you can see he's ahead of the Ferrari of Leclerc, I think, Vettel or Leclerc, I don't know, and he is ahead of Perez as he comes to the first corner. And where is Norris? He's nowhere to be seen. I think he got jumped in the pits or something, I'm not sure. But yeah, so Leclerc has been ahead of Norris now. I think he jumped him in the pits. So let's see what happens now as we move on. A couple of people still have to pit. So I think around 5 people still have to pit ahead of us. So we should filter out in P7 where we were before. Our teammate Mick Schumacher and a couple of other people are also coming into the pits this lap, and we should be ahead of them as we see the two Mercedes leading the pack coming through, and we should be ahead of all of them because we obviously pit earlier. But Mick Schumacher will be nowhere in our race. I'm pretty sure he's still down in P15 once he makes his pit stop, and I think the Haas has just jumped him. Okay, that hasn't been good. The Haas just jumped him in the pits, I think. But we are gonna come through once all of these people make their pit stops. We should be up into P7, I think. P8, yeah, we are in the top 10 as our engineer just said. And when I come to the first corner, and we are back again into the points, and someone has hit someone behind us, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you can see. And what has happened here? Lando Norris has just driven into a Haas which jumped my teammate, and now he has a lot of damage, I think. And what did he just do? He just turned into me. I think he just didn't notice as the Haas was coming out of the pit lane, and he just turned in and the Haas was there. He didn't see it, and he has got damage now. So he will have to come into the pits on the very next lap at the end of lap number 9, and he just pitted the previous lap, I think. So it's a disaster for McLaren here. But as we look on, Ocon, or I think that's Daniel Ricciardo, is looking to make a move on Lando Norris as he has front wing damage, and he's going to go around the outside and he's going to get the move done. That was a really nice move by him. And now our teammate Mick Schumacher is also looking to get a move done on the McLaren of Lando Norris, and he's going to come in to fix his damage. So that's a disaster for McLaren. Even though Carlos Sainz is up into P6, they could have had a double point finish, but now they only have one car left in points, and I'm pretty sure Norris is going to be nowhere near the points after its pit stop. And Valtteri Bottas, moving on to the last lap, is going to win the Australian Grand Prix. A really nice start to his season and to his championship. Maybe he could win this. You never know. Hamilton had a fault. If Hamilton didn't have a fault, I'm pretty sure he would have gone on to win this Grand Prix. So sad for Hamilton. He could have been the winner of the first round. But for us, suns are shining as we cross the line to obtain our first ever points in Formula 1 as a team and as a player. We come home to take P7 in the first round.
Another superb Australian Grand Prix comes to an end, and it's a thoroughly deserved victory. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
Well, time management probably played quite a large role in the outcome of this one. As ever, it's not just about speed, it's all about maintaining that speed consistently over a stint, over a race distance. So being able to keep up the lap times while still being smooth on the controls and gentle on the tyres, that's really where the race was won today.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team, and they certainly deserve it. So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. Valtteri Bottas takes the top spot. He's our new Drivers' Championship leader after today's result. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant? It's time to check out the Constructors' standings. Mercedes moved to the top of the table. Well, Ant, an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
So it's another Mercedes 1-2, no surprise there. We finished in P7 and Pierre Gasly managed to come in P9, so he also got some decent points for AlphaTauri. And our teammate, I'm pretty sure he's down in P16, P15. Okay, that's good. He did not get to overtake the Haas of Kevin Magnussen, unfortunately. So Valtteri Bottas taking the lead of the championship, as well as Mercedes getting the maximum number of points they can get in one weekend. So nice start for Mercedes. Maybe they can go and conquer like they always have. But anyways guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of this series, and this is going to be an exciting one. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.